As we approach Election Day, I'm happy to say we are bringing back our series, 3 Meals, our way of taking to the road to have a meal, 3 of them, in fact, and talk to voters about what they actually care about. Our first state it's for lovers, Virginia. It's got some red parts, some blue parts, and great food in all parts of Virginia. Its electoral votes are interesting. They've gone to the Democrat in the last 4 presidential elections, but a Republican, Glenn Youngkin, became the governor in 2022, and he's hoping the GOP can win the state for former President Donald Trump this time around. Scott McFarland takes us on the road to get a taste of what's on voters' minds and their plates.
No state is home to more historic battlegrounds than Battleground Virginia. Like Culpeper, older than the country itself, whose charming town square is where you'll find the Frost Cafe, filled with regulars like Ed Jones.
I enjoy it here. I enjoy the people.
There's no debate about the coffee here in this conservative stronghold that Donald Trump carried twice.
Cheers.
And this fall, Jones thinks former President Trump is the man to get the job done.
We need someone in our presidency who can make this America work for the working man. It's really looking critical right now, where I don't even know if my grandchildren are going to have a future with this country.
Some of these big breakfasts of omelets and pancakes can cost less than $10. And that's what brings in Devada Allison, who's worried about inflation.
Groceries that used to cost me $200 a couple years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, I'm spending $500 at the grocery store right now. That's going to be my biggest deciding factor is give me your answers. What are your solutions? 'Cause I don't want promises and broken promises.
But he says he'll have something even bigger on his mind when he goes to vote.
I think we need to stop looking at what side of the fence you're on, whoever you're supporting, and realize, you know, as a people, that we're all still American at the end of the day.
When you look at the election, what are the things that worry you, keep you up at night?
I worry that we're getting very divided, and I'm worried that there's a lot of hate going around.
Sarah Campbell's a librarian. Her husband, Brian, a high school teacher with school-age kids.
It really bothers me when people act like bullies. And our school works very hard to try to get everyone to be respectful of all people.
It's process.
And I need to see people who model that behavior for our students. Our teachers do.
Now we are very caffeinated and headed to our next stop. Lunch is in Loudoun County, Virginia. It's about 90 minutes away. All along the way, we go through some of the battleground parts of the Commonwealth, areas where elections can be won or lost.
Loudoun County is the wealthiest county in the country, fueled by a booming wine industry, huge wheat-growing land, and a high-tech hub. At the Leesburg Diner, retiree Jim Huhulis says the Reuben is his go-to.
I can't go wrong with a Reuben.
But that's where some of his decisiveness ends. He's still not sure whom to vote for this fall.
Everything has risen, cost of living, and that includes the homes. If you're going out for dinner, whoever can bring policy changes to that in order to make that a little easier, I think is going to be of biggest interest for me.
At a nearby table, we found these high school friends home from college who are voting for the first time.
Who's excited to vote this year? All 5 of you.
Still teens, they're already concerned about the cost of housing.
Owning a home is really important for building up wealth in America. It's something you can leave to your grandchildren and as like a legacy.
You can't afford to live where your parents live.
Well, yeah, things have changed so much in terms of just the cost of housing.
This group split the diner's Ice Cream Sundae special, but like a lot of Virginians we spoke with, they say politics don't have to be so divided.
A lot of the polarization can sometimes, be toned down a little bit just for the sake of truly bettering the country sometimes.
Sounds like y'all are just starving for it to cool off.
Exactly.
As we drive south to Richmond, Virginia, we're headed to the state capitol, a city filled with state government workers and major universities, college students. For Democrats, this has been a must-win part of the Commonwealth. We headed to Mama J's Kitchen, a soul food institution in Virginia's capital city.
The cornbread doesn't need anything.
It really doesn't.
where fried catfish, whipped sweet potatoes, and cornbread dominate diners' plates. We found Ricky Gaines waiting for his takeout order.
What do you look for when you're looking for a leader or somebody to vote for?
Someone that's fair, someone that's consistent.
This Army veteran says he's now worried about safety here at home.
I think crime, that kind of keeps me up at night. The drugs, the crime, we've got to police that up.
Jonae Battle, a 23-year-old server here, says she's excited to vote for Kamala Harris, a candidate who she says looks like her, and says a very personal issue is leading her to cast a ballot for the first time.
Reproductive rights.
That's a top issue.
That's a top issue for me. I feel like some women are put in a predicament where they can't financially keep a certain baby, or so they just need to have the freedom to do whatever they want to do with their body.
Virginia is the only state in the South that has not enacted more restrictive abortion policies or a waiting period following the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade.
You feel like that's something that's driving other young people too?
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a big concern, and it always has been, but it's never been like, oh, your rights are about to get taken away from you. I feel like that's taking us back and not forward.
Virginia has a history of being politically unpredictable. In 2008 and 2020, they voted overwhelmingly for Democratic presidents, then turned around and elected Republican governors. And in this state where the slogan is Virginia is for lovers, they would like to see more civility in the politics. And Nate, early voting is almost here. It begins Friday, September 20th in Virginia.
Scott, well done. I love this series because it just shows voters want a country that reflects and protects how they were raised.
Yes.
Almost as comforting to them as their favorite meal, which is why I love the 3 Meal series. And I can't wait for us to do ours. We were just talking about that during the commercial break.
Pumped.
With 2 months to go until Election Day, we continue our series, 3 Meals, we call it. That's where we hit the road and we talk with voters over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can learn a lot with people when you break a meal with them. This time, we went to Florida. The former swing state has trended more conservative in recent years. We all know that, going twice to former President Donald Trump. But this year, the Kamala Harris campaign has very high hopes because of a ballot measure that would put abortion rights in the state constitution. Caitlin Huey-Burns went for an eating tour to see what voters in Florida are thinking about these days.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Our trip to Florida began in Miami, home to the beaches, the birds, and the barrios, like Little Havana, where we stopped for lunch at Versailles for a taste of Cuba. This iconic restaurant is a must-stop for politicians courting votes. And we found this group of longtime friends catching up on life and politics.
If I weren't sitting here, you'd be talking about all this.
If it gets too rough, then we stop.
Okay. Does it ever reach that point?
Oh, yeah.
With him especially. Yeah.
Cuban immigrant Emilio Alvarez says he voted for Trump in 2016 before supporting Biden and now Harris.
Donald Trump has called Kamala Harris a communist.
That makes me laugh. You can be a liberal, but that's something different to be a communist.
But at another table, Jose Fernandez, who's also from Cuba, sees it differently, which is why he's supporting Trump. What happened in Cuba is happening here, he said. Even though people don't believe it, I do, because I lived it. The Cuban-American vote helped Trump win Florida, and he's leading here again in the polls. But this November, the real battleground here is over a ballot measure that would enshrine abortion rights into the state's constitution. And currently, a 6-week ban is in place. Nelson Perdomo isn't sure who he'll vote for, but on this issue, he takes his cues from his wife. It's a moral question, she said, but it's also a physical one. So yes, I agree that women should be able to choose. And after a quick break for some Cuban coffee,
This is my 3rd coffee of the day.
we grabbed a guava pastry and hit the road.
So we're driving north to Port St. Lucie. It's in a county that voted twice for Barack Obama and then flipped around and supported Donald Trump in the past 2 presidential elections.
we made our way up the coast to Mexican restaurant Casa Amigos in Port St. Lucie, where the shrimp was sizzling and tacos reigned supreme. At the bar, we met Jim Bassett, who says he'll likely vote for Trump.
2008, I voted for Barack Obama. 2020 was really tough. I did vote for Trump.
Do you belong to a party or?
I'm registered Republican, but to be honest, I'm more independent than probably anybody.
Bassett and his wife Jenny met in Colombia, her home country, and for them, immigration is top of mind.
If we allowed people to immigrate to this country legally in an expeditious, timely way, I think it would prevent a lot of the border crossings. These people risk their lives to come here.
At a booth nearby, we found friends Claudia and Valentina catching up over drinks.
We're constantly living day to day, paycheck to paycheck, having to work multiple jobs just to be able to get through.
And forget trying to start a family. We're like, in today's economy, honestly, we can't.
On that note, I asked how they were thinking about the abortion issue in Florida.
I believe women should choose that they could do whatever they want.
Faith-wise, I'm a Christian. I don't think abortion is okay. I personally wouldn't do it, but I don't think it should be taken from someone that wants to do it.
Do you mind if I ask who you voted for in the last election?
I voted for Biden.
Okay.
Yeah. I voted for Trump in the last one.
Okay.
Oh, you did? I did.
Learned something new and you're still friends.
Yeah,
Look
but
at
I
that.
didn't know much when I did vote. I think my mindset has changed in the past few years. That's why I don't know where I'm at now.
With bellies full, we packed up for the night to get some rest before breakfast.
So Florida's a state that's been trending more and more red. But we're heading up to Orlando. It's in Orange County, and that's a place that's been reliably blue for the past several presidential elections.
We arrived at 903 Mills Market, nestled in an Orlando neighborhood.
Hi, good morning.
And found the house blend and Hot Topics on tap.
The possibility that Kamala Harris become president keeps me up at night. It worries me. It worries me sick.
Casey has supported Trump since 2016, but like many voters we heard from, for him the issue of abortion is nuanced.
I'm a Catholic. I paid for an abortion once. So, does that mean I believe in it? No. I think the states should have the decision. And if somebody wants abortion bad enough, they can certainly get to a state that allows them.
Ready?
Outside, we found Rachel and her son.
Yay!
Starting their day off with something special, ice cream for breakfast.
You're a mom, I'm a mom. I know we stay up all night about lots of different things.
Yes.
But when it comes to this election, is there anything that in particular keeps you up at night?
Sometimes women's health care really does keep me up at night. And of course the climate change keeps me up at night because for them, that's the world they're going to inherit.
But this election season, there is something that all Floridians can get behind.
Maybe just stop with the election text messages.
I think that is a universal, unifying message.
Yeah.
And that abortion ballot measure in Florida would require 60% of the vote to pass, which is pretty high and means a lot of Republicans would have to support it. And as you saw from some of our conversations, some of them might. But what I really took away from this trip is that voters have the capacity to think about a lot of different issues at the same time. And just because you're in a red state or a blue state, it's a lot more complex than you might think. Nate?
Yeah. Well done, Kate.
That's a great piece, Gayle.
Yeah, it really was. She's spot on when it comes to voters.
Yeah.
I mean, your mind is so compartmentalized when you're trying to figure out what you want this country to look like as it's tailored to you and your family.
The strangest place in the universe is other people's heads. I don't know what's going on in there. I can't make sense of it, but
we do have the ability to think about many different things at the same time and come up with a decision. I love the guy that said, I'm probably more independent than most people realize.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are feeling.
I love our
they
three
do.
meals.
I love
it. It's one of our favorite
Yeah.
This week, we visit a state at the center of both campaigns' roadmap to the White House, Michigan. Our new CBS News poll shows Vice President Harris with a 1-point edge over former President Trump, who won Michigan in 2016 before it went blue in 2020. Major Garrett traveled there to ask what's on people's minds.
Near the middle of politically divided Michigan is Saginaw, Michigan's only boomerang county that backed Obama, then Trump, then Biden.
Boarded up buildings and this shuttered train station may make things around here look forgotten. But we can say this with certainty. National candidates have not forgotten Saginaw.
We fueled up for breakfast at Levi's Food and Spirits on these big pancakes and 4-egg omelets.
Enjoy.
Jill Adams is a server here.
How are we doing over here?
For this election, would you say your mind is made up?
Yes.
And that is?
Trump.
Okay. Are you a previous Trump supporter?
The first year he won in 2016, I was not.
Did you vote for Hillary?
I did vote for Hillary, but I
Okay.
cried when she did not win.
Okay. Then what happened?
And then I just felt like he did a good job. I liked the fact that he was not a politician.
You believe you were better off 4 years ago?
Oh, absolutely. Small business owner Andrew Singrati backs Trump too.
Before Harris stepped in, I thought it was going to be like almost a slam dunk. Now I'm not so sure.
Retiree John Brady is backing Vice President Harris.
I'm worried that fear is going to drive people to vote for somebody who's going to use that fear to take away other people's freedoms. The abortion rights thing is obviously a big issue, and one of the clearest examples of a loss of major freedoms for women in this country.
Would you say Harris excites you in any way?
I like her optimism. She reflects more of what I see.
For lunch, we drove south toward Detroit, stopping in Dearborn at Sahara, a Lebanese restaurant, owned for the past quarter century by Sam Hamoud's family.
What is your most popular set of items on the menu?
Shawarma. We go through a lot of shawarma.
Nearby, we found next-door neighbors Rachel Knight and Diane Sikora, who recently retired.
I knew I had enough to make things last the rest of my life. Now I'm kind of questioning it if I should maybe go back to work part-time.
Both friends are backing Trump.
I don't like him as a person, I'll admit it. But I think he's the best thing for the country.
How will you feel if Trump doesn't win, Diane?
Petrified.
Petrified?
Petrified.
Of what may be happening?
All the illegals coming through, they're going to make it up here to Michigan.
What is going on at the border scares me to death. I just hold my breath every day hoping that somebody that I love doesn't get hurt.
Really? You think about it that much?
Yes.
Dearborn, the hometown of Ford Motors, is also home to a lot of immigrants, the largest city with a majority Arab American population anywhere in the country. Many, like Mike Ayoub, lean Democrat, but have broken with the Biden administration over the war in Gaza.
And for this community, there really is no other issue right now.
The Arab American community, it's a one issue and one issue ahead.
Do you think they'll sit out the election?
There's a very good chance. Absolutely. I'm considering sitting it out.
Next, we're headed right outside the state capital of Lansing to Eaton County. Eaton County, you see, is a swing county in a swing state. You see, Obama won Eaton County twice, so did Trump. But Trump's 2020 margin was less than 1%. And when I say less than 1%, I mean 499 votes.
Eaton Place is the place to eat here.
Major Garrett with CBS.
Terry Davis.
Hey, Terry, how are you?
When we stopped by, these guys on the wall weren't talking, but these two college roommates were.
He's my best friend. Right. So we're on the same page.
Right.
Retired nurse Paul Moudry is a Reagan Democrat who backs Vice President Harris.
There's this idea, and you can certainly hear it in Washington. There's all this excitement for Harris. She's raising all this money, all these volunteers. It's in the bag. Does it feel in the bag?
No, it does not feel in the bag. No, I'm worried the bag's got a big hole in it.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's a rat eating down at the bottom.
Sloan Davis is part of the Harris coalition, but half-heartedly.
I'll vote for Harris. Yeah.
Sounds kind of meh, though.
I'm a pretty passionate person, and I'm not passionate about either of them.
The middle school counselor makes ends meet by helping cook burgers here in her parents' restaurant, but Davis says her vote also is about something more personal.
Well, I am getting married this year.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you, to a woman. And of course, there is always that burning question in the back of your head. Like, what if? Because I don't want that right to be taken away.
And like many we met in Michigan, she yearns for a brighter future.
Even if the person I vote for doesn't win, I do believe in tomorrow. So that's what I'm hopeful for.
And Major joins us now. Major, what did you learn from the voters in Michigan, and did last night's debate reflect some of those issues?
We'll get to the debate in a second. So I talked to 20 voters, not one of them was undecided.
Wow.
Not one.
Not one. And headlines come and go, but let me tell you this. Support for former President Trump is real and resilient. I encounter that everywhere I went. And that's something the Harris campaign knows, recognizes. It's a fact in Michigan. Top Democrats in Michigan tell me that they expect the margin in this election could be as tight as 50,000 votes. Wow. Biden won Michigan by 150,000 votes. So let's dig a little deeper. I was in Dearborn, just outside of Detroit. Population about 110,000. Roughly a third of that is Arab American. That's 30,000 votes, possibly. If the margin is 50,000 and some significant portion of them, as Mike Ayub I talked to said, sit this election out, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And the Gaza war is of significant importance to that community.
Yeah.
Many people I talked to said they have friends, relatives who are suffering. They think about it every single day. Something to keep an eye on.
And
As for the debate,
yeah.
I don't know how much that issue was addressed in Dearborn last night.
Yeah.
It was a little bit. The broader spectrum of issues, those two women we also talked to in Dearborn, constantly worried about immigration. I know Trump went down some very seemingly ridiculous rabbit holes about cats and everything else.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they don't still care about immigration and will not still continue to back Trump.
You say when the election is this close, every vote matters. Everything.
That's why they say voting, when not voting is voting.
Yeah, but I like the lady who just said, even if the person I like doesn't win, I still have hope. I want the country to be
It's a great piece, and
very
Saginaw
good.
Island and Simon and Garfunkel's way to start it. I mean, I just love this country and how different everybody is. Just down the road, different food, different ideas.
Yeah.
And you had 4 meals, not 3. I'm going to try that.
We counted. We were
and I
counting.
get to do one of these.
Major, thank you very much. This morning in our series 3 Meals, we are going to the battleground state of Nevada. Every week until the election, we are hitting the road with different states in mind to break bread with the voters there and ask them what matters most. Now, no Republican presidential candidate has won the state of Nevada since George W. Bush back in 2004. And the latest CBS News poll shows that Vice President Harris and former President Trump are locked in a statistical tie. Adriana Diaz found out what's on people's minds.
Spanish settlers called this Nevada, meaning snowy, but down on the ground, the state is sizzling hot. Just like what's cooking in the smoker. It's the outdoor kitchen behind the award-winning Brothers Barbecue in Reno, where the alluring smell of pulled pork pulls people in, like these friends.
Do you always get together and talk politics? We do. Yes. So it's our lucky day. We found the right table today. What issue is most important to you?
I'm extremely concerned about the border.
Illegals, they gotta go.
People are coming here seeking asylum.
Baloney. They're coming here for the freebies.
When people talk about immigration, they're thinking we're saying we don't want immigrants of any kind, and that's not what people are saying. People are saying that there are people who have come here legally. Why do they get pushed aside to allow people who have not even worked one day in our country, have not paid into the system?
I took my brisket and mac and cheese with me to catch Ken Lasker with the to-go order.
How closely are you watching this election?
Oh, very closely.
He was the only Harris supporter we met at lunch, even though Washoe County has historically been pretty politically split.
We've had a democracy for 250 years, and I think that it's clearly being threatened now by Trump and the Republican Party.
With bellies full of barbecue, my producer and I hopped on a plane to where 2/3 of Nevadans live.
Where are we going, Myra? City Vegas! Las Vegas!
Las Vegas in Clark County, home to casinos, Elvis impersonators, and a vibrant Latino community, representing more than 20% of the state's electorate. A popular hangout is Viva Zapatas, Rosie Martins is originally from Mexico and appreciates the Moscow Mule. Her husband Gary is from Portugal. The Republicans are concerned about the economy and the border.
I want it to be secure. I want it to be something that the people will not be in danger when they cross in their kids and their families, and to know who's crossing too. If you're not following the rules, then you don't have nothing to do in this country.
Above the smoke of sizzling fajitas, we met Harris supporter Joey Herbert.
I've already taken the day off work.
Who's making sure nothing gets in the way of his vote.
You know, when you're going to sleep at night, what's going through your head?
For me, I think it's the economy, and that's what I really like about the current administration is there's been nothing but job growth.
This table disagrees. Food truck owner Francisco Mares says he's had to raise prices.
The tacos used to be what, $1.50. After the pandemic, I mean, they don't go under $3.50 to $4, you know, because the meat's expensive.
He's leaning toward Trump, but says both candidates talk a big game when courting Latinos.
They try to win their votes, but do they really do everything they say?
You feel like there are promises that aren't kept?
Yeah, for sure.
We turned in early by Vegas standards so we could rise with the sun.
You can't tell the story of Nevada without getting out to the rural, rocky, and very Republican rest of the state. So we're heading out to Nye County for some much-needed coffee. Much needed.
Which is served with a smile at our place off Highway 160.
May I join you?
Leanne and Stephen Schaefer were first to arrive and say they can't wait to vote.
I want someone who's strong, who demands respect and who gets the respect, and who can deal with foreign leaders. I think Trump's the guy.
There's so much going on throughout the world and this country as well. But do you remain hopeful about America?
I tell you, I've never owned a gun in my life, and I own 4 of them now.
Really?
Yes. I fear for our country.
I'm of Asian descent, and this could be the possibility to have the first Asian president in office.
Neil Ratinavira plans to vote for the first time since 2008.
I try to vote when somebody has the same kind of approach as me.
So you didn't see that in Biden?
No.
You don't see that in Trump?
Absolutely not.
Is it Nevada or Nevada? Nevada.
At the next table over, we met business owners in telecom, real estate, and mortgage lending.
Everything has gone up. Everybody feels it at the grocery store, at the gas pumps. And yes, I do contribute that to Biden.
I think they just keep thinking that if they keep putting money towards something, it's going to fix the problem. It's the same as if you have an old house, you know, oh, let's just keep fixing it and fixing it. Sometimes the solution is you got to tear it down and rebuild.
And get a mortgage from you.
Absolutely, a 203K.
We had so much fun, but what was really incredible is in every single restaurant of the people willing to talk to us, we could only find one Harris supporter in every restaurant, and we left no stone unturned. I approached every single person, except for this one guy who I think had too many drinks at the bar, but people are really excited about Trump.
So, I mean, it's tied in the polls, but Democrats have been winning that state since 2004, but what you're saying looks like Trump has some momentum.
Democrats have been winning the state, but the margins are getting smaller and smaller.
Each week until the election, our series 3 Meals is hitting the road in different states to break bread with voters and ask what matters the most. This morning, we go to the important battleground state of Wisconsin. Recent CBS News polling shows Vice President Harris and former President Trump in a statistical tie there. We took a road trip through the Badger State, home to America's largest cheese producer and home to 10 critical electoral votes. And yes, we were able to find some amazing food, but it was the conversations that filled us up.
Wisconsin, one of the dairy machines of America. It's a place where people like their politics, how they like their cheese, sharp and straightforward. Around here in Eau Claire, they like their portions hearty. We stopped for dinner at 4 Mile Restaurant and Bar, a community staple since the 1960s.
I will never vote for a convicted felon for president of the United States.
Conservative Mark Gagnon says, instead of Trump, he's picking the Harris-Walz ticket.
I voted for him the first time he ran. I was gravely disappointed. I think we need younger people. I mean, what's an 80-year-old person know what a 30-year-old family needs?
What did you say, you're what?
I'm a Trumper.
I'm a liberal. And somehow you guys are friends.
And people say Trump's an I don't disagree.
Good friends Jim Weber and Dave Young live right in the neighborhood, but their political views are worlds apart.
I think we need a businessman to run this country. It's a mess.
Yeah, I think it comes down to character, and I think Trump is unfit to be a leader, and that automatically disqualifies him.
What's the key to getting along? It seems like a simple question, but...
Respect each other.
Exactly what I was going to say, respect.
Before you ask, yes, I pump my own gas. And yes, these are cheese curds. Right now, we're headed south on I-94 before we rebase for breakfast in Sauk County. We started our morning in the small town of Reedsburg, Wisconsin, and the Flat Top Grill at Greenwood's Cafe has been crackling since sunrise. Greenwood's has been helping fuel the town for more than half a century.
I'll tell you what I say.
What do you say, Terry?
You know why circuses, they can't have all their shows and everything anymore?
Why?
Because all the clowns went into politics.
Terry Milbauer is retired. This election, Trump has his vote because of his positions on immigration and energy.
But what I like about him is he wants to control the border.
Control the border.
He wants to keep drilling some oil so that the gas prices don't go up to $4 a gallon.
Trump has said things about women that totally inflame me. But I am a Republican from the word go.
Okay.
We cannot discuss politics.
Sisters Don Porter and Sharon Peterson have different ideas about where this country is headed.
You said that Trump has said inflammatory things about women. He also brags about overturning Roe v. Wade.
And that's wrong. I'm a Republican, but nobody has the right to tell me what I can do.
With your body.
With my body.
Trump I dislike from day one, and I don't trust him, and every time he opens his mouth, there's a frickin' lie.
Do you believe that we, as a country, are ready for a woman to be president?
I don't think they are, but a lot of white women feel, because I live in a small town and I hear people talking, a lot of them are factory workers. Women are when they're in positions of power.
You hear that?
All the time, yes. So I think being a white woman, I think we're our worst enemy.
We needed to stop for more gas, but more importantly, more cheese curds. But let's not get sidetracked. Up next, we're headed to Waukesha County, a county just outside of Milwaukee that Trump won in 16 and in 20. We made our final stop in the town of Oconomowoc. Lunch today was at the Crafty Cow, where this family-owned spot pairs some of the tastiest food and some of the warmest hospitality in Wisconsin. Do you know who you're voting for?
Yes, I do.
And who is that?
Do we say? Yes, I know, it's Harris. When Trump calls us losers and suckers, because I'm a veteran, how would that make you feel? I mean, would you vote for, would you say, I really like you, I'm gonna vote for you?
But Donald Trump can't relate to being a veteran. Donald Trump can't relate to growing up in the Midwest on a farm. Donald Trump can't relate to the common person.
I'm gonna vote for Kamala Harris.
I'm also leaning more towards Kamala as well.
21-year-old Lily Nyman and 22-year-old Elliot Swanger worry about abortion access and worry about how divided the country has become.
As a woman living in this country, I'm definitely worried about abortion access. I'm not very well equipped to have kids right now, and so I think that there are a lot of women out there that in the off chance that, I get pregnant for whatever reason, I want to make sure I have safe access to get a procedure like that done.
In my family as well, there have been some differences in political opinions, and that's driven us apart.
Wow.
I wish it didn't have to be that way. I wish we didn't have to play teams like red team versus blue team.
I want to say thank you to 4 Mile Restaurant, Greenwood's Cafe, and the Crafty Cow for their hospitality, which rivals the Southern hospitality. Mm-hmm. The people in the Midwest were great. Mm-hmm. But when we drove through those cornfields, just about every line had a Trump sign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Flags everywhere, billboards everywhere, Trump campaign offices almost on every other block. It was a surprising number of Kamala Harris supporters.
Wow.
And I just feel like this election is more balanced in areas that we might assume could be leaning one way or the other.
But you know what's real? We talk about the silent Trump voter who doesn't say yes to a poll. From your reporting and from other reporting, it seems like there's a silent sexism voter as well.
Yes,
Just not ready for a woman.
Yes.
To be the boss.
Yeah, and we picked up on that.
Well, I was jealous you got Wisconsin, by the way, because I got Wisconsin for 3 meals during the midterms, but I'm so glad you went to Waukesha. Waukesha is one of the WOW counties, Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington counties, which are outside of Milwaukee, and those are critical for either side to win. And it really is, like you said, it's anyone's race, and that's what our polling shows.
Yeah, and another thing I found fascinating was Trump supporters who were strong in their stance. Almost the common thread was, he says things I don't agree with, but I still am going to.
There's always that but in the sentence. Every week until the election, we are driving through key states to talk with voters for our series 3 Meals. And this morning, I go to Georgia, where voters backed a Republican in every single presidential race dating all the way back to 1996 until Joe Biden edged out Donald Trump in 2020. But the margin of victory there essentially amounted to an overflow crowd at a minor league baseball game. I've played in front of bigger crowds in this margin. The latest CBS News poll shows Trump and Vice President Harris, it is very close. They are in a statistical tie in Georgia. Top issues in that poll, the economy and rising prices. But as I found out, the people of Georgia have a whole lot of other stuff on their minds. Georgia, known for its peaches, but what Donald Trump and Kamala Harris most want out of the state,
I'm thrilled to be back in the great state of Georgia. I love Georgia.
is votes.
Good evening, Georgia.
A Harris victory here depends on running up the margins in and around metro Atlanta, where the population is booming. And starting the day over coffee at West Egg Cafe in the city's West Side neighborhood,
We just moved to Georgia from California.
we learned a lot of newcomers, like Marion and Brian Smith, they tend to vote blue. Would Donald Trump be better for you economically?
I wouldn't vote for him even if it meant another $100,000 in my pocket.
Hello, Atlanta.
But while Joe Biden won this state in 2020, so you're voting for Donald Trump? There are warning lights for Kamala Harris.
I feel like he aligns more with America and American values than she does.
Isaac Simpson explained those Trump values while I made some gains on a delicious potato biscuit and omelet.
I just know that once you start doing away with things like the Second Amendment and altering it to your own, what you think is sensible, then it's a problem, because then who's the arbiter of that?
Yet over by the counter,
A lot more of the country became more hopeful once Kamala became the nominee.
some counterpoints from Christopher Walker.
Democrats are focused on actual issues that are of concern to Americans and solving the systemic problems that we all face.
Afterward, we hit the road and made some U-turns along the way. Heading into the suburbs of Forsyth County. Part of a Republican stronghold that the Trump campaign is counting on. And sure enough, as we settled into the station house off US 19 for lunch,
Oh, thank you.
over a chef salad and shrimp and grits,
To me, he's more for the people, the hardworking people.
we heard a whole lot of Trump support.
I did like my lifestyle when Trump was elected. I liked that groceries were much more affordable, gas was much more affordable.
Mixed with general exhaustion.
I can overlook some of the nonsense rhetoric that comes out of his mouth. I mean, ultimately, I feel like he's worried about our country.
His talk of border control, though, is what motivates Republicans like Butch and Judy Harrell.
You're paying for all these immigrants. You're keeping them up in a hotel. You're giving them food. You're giving them health care free.
Do you feel like the border has been too open under Joe Biden?
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely. It's just a mess.
Hey, how are you? A few tables away, and with a serious sugar buzz starting to get the best of me. I should not have gotten the full sweet tea.
half and half. You gotta always go half and half.
We met Matt Hudson.
We had a great economy with the person that I voted for.
Who says there's very little the Harris campaign could do to scoop away his or his mother Sharon's vote for the man they've supported since 2016.
So he was like, I think I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, and you were like, honey, me too, and then you guys brought it in for a hug?
Honey, me too. This is my mom.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. In need of a little time for the sugar to find its way out of my system, we headed south. Down to Peach County, one of the so-called pivot counties in Georgia, that voted for Obama twice before voting for Trump twice. They love their 2-for-1s here.
Did you know 2 people can eat for $13 today?
As we found an irresistible deal at the 478 Country Buffet in Byron. As you might expect in this purple county and in this restaurant,
what's good here?
Quite a few folks still mulling their choices.
So you're undecided. What more do you need to know?
I don't know yet. I just kind of want to hear like all the options, like everything that both of them have to say. You know?
Mark Hott Anderson knows who she wants.
What is the biggest issue that makes you support Kamala Harris?
Right now, abortion.
Really?
The thing, yeah. Because I've been put in scenarios that if I didn't get a choice, it would not work for me.
But she doesn't always feel like she can express that support in public.
I can't put nothing Harris related on my card. If not, it might be vandalized.
Has that happened before?
No, but I don't want.
You don't want to tempt anybody.
Yeah.
And yet,
hold on, you got a Biden Harris hat on.
Consider the story of Greg Hall, proudly sporting his support for Harris. He's a Democrat who gave his Republican neighbors a ride to the polls last election, raising an interesting hypothetical this time.
You, Greg, a Democrat, drive a Republican to the polls, thereby putting Donald Trump over the top and making him president again. If you knew that that was what you would be doing, would you still do it?
I would make sure they get to the polls because I believe in the right to vote and the responsibility to vote more than I believe in my own candidate.
Bravo to Greg there. Greg's a great American. You missed a great little soundbite at the end there. So I met a voter in Georgia who drove his Republican
No, I saw
neighbors.
it back
Oh,
then.
yeah. So
Yes,
it was
yes,
like,
yes, I saw it.
I just feel, you know, we've talked about civility and people being cordial again. I think that's good, too. We're all Americans. We're still neighbors. We have political differences, but drive each other to the polls.
Yeah, well done, Greg.
Every week before the election, our series 3 Meals is on the road talking to voters over a meal or 3. Today, we take our forks and knives to California. Now, usually we head to battleground states, but this time it's a Democratic stronghold that has one of the most competitive congressional races. California's 45th district battle between GOP incumbent Michelle Steele and Democrat Derek Tran could help determine control of the U.S. House. Nearly 40% of the population there is Asian or Pacific Islander, and 31% is Hispanic. Jolene Kent hit the road to see what's on folks' mind and found that many people are focused on the top of the ticket.
From the mountains to the beaches and redwood forests, the Golden State is one of the nation's most geographically diverse. California is also one of the most racially diverse, with the biggest population of eligible Vietnamese voters in the country. That's why we're headed to a neighborhood called Little Saigon. Garden Grove is hailed as one of the best places to get Vietnamese food in the U.S. Pho Red Bow is our first stop. Known for its broth made with high-quality Wagyu beef.
Everybody is enjoying pho. You can have pho on a hot day, cold night, or early mornings.
So pho for breakfast?
Pho for breakfast, yeah.
Okay, I'm down with this. That's a great idea.
James Bowie opened Red Bow 3 years ago and hopes the next president will give small businesses more tax breaks.
We're coming due our tax right now, and the bill is pretty hefty.
Is it higher than it's been in past years?
It's just high.
Inflation, which cuts into his bottom line, will be a deciding factor in how he votes in November. Restaurant inflation is still rising by 4% nationwide compared to last year.
Inflation plays a major role because everything we see price increases, on the weekly basis. I'm just a person trying to make his ends meet. We bring the best product, we bring the best meat, and that's how we're gonna attract eaters.
A few tables away, we met Zachary Fritz and Monica Yee.
So who are you going to vote for in the presidential?
Kamala Harris.
Okay.
And I will be the first to say, I don't like her, but the choice is still clear to me. It'll always be somebody who at least respects democracy and respects the vote of the people.
Yee was born in China. Her main concern is immigration reform.
It's stupid to judge people by colors, by nationalities. The beautiful part is diverse. I love that part, but as long as it's good people, not like illegal people. So that's my point.
One thing everyone agreed on, the pho was phenomenal.
So we're back in the car and we're leaving behind the flavors of Southeast Asia. And keep in mind, here in California's 45th, the Hispanic population makes up 1/3 of the district. So we're heading for a Southwest staple. We're gonna go get some tacos, my favorite.
We landed at award-winning Amor y Tacos, founded in Cerritos a decade ago. The food reflects the community, Mexican with both Asian and American influences.
I mean, this is heavenly. It's incredible.
Lunchtime is packed, but Chef Thomas Ortega is feeling the heat. He and co-owner Todd Sugioka tell us soaring costs will impact how they cast their votes.
How are you feeling about the economy here?
Our food cost is 30% higher. It feels like everywhere we look, higher, higher, higher.
People aren't ordering dessert. They're laying off that extra cocktail. So it kind of all chips away at things to make it difficult.
Many have cut back on how often they eat out, like Susanna Solano and Ernie Ortega.
The cost of everything, fuel, food. You need to have like $500,000 you need to be making every year just to afford a house right now. It's crazy. And you ask me who I'm going to vote for, it's going to be Trump.
Are you going to vote for a Democrat or a Republican?
Oh, I used to be Democrat.
Yeah.
But now I think I'm more Republican, even though I'm Mexican. And people maybe hate me, but I'm not really a fan of Trump. But now I think he's the best option.
A few tables over, Vicki and Michael Allen tell us their main focus is also the presidential election.
My number one priority this election is preserving democracy, Social Security, Medicare, preserving women's health care rights. All of that is at stake.
So I think I know who you might be voting for.
I am going to vote for Kamala Harris. I don't want to go backwards.
All right, we're rounding out our day in the northernmost part of this crescent-shaped district. We're going to Brea. We're going to go check out an Irish pub known for its loyal group of regulars.
Welcome to downtown Brea and McAllen's Public House. This Irish tavern is bustling, keeping spirits filled to the brim.
Cheers, bud.
Tonight's menu features a bourbon and beef pairing. Regulars Kelly and Mark Irwin are focused on the local election.
You guys live in the 45th district. This district could change the balance of power in the House of Representatives. Yes. Do you know who you're going to vote for yet?
Michelle Steele.
We feel that her policies align with what we think is appropriate and what's needed.
Both also plan to vote for Donald Trump, pointing to the economy.
How do you feel about saying that out loud? 2024 versus 2020 and 2016?
I feel good about it because I feel like in 2016 and 2020 it was taboo to say his name and that I'm a woman, that I would be voting for him because I think a lot of people don't think that he is very respectful in that way. I'm happy to be saying that now and saying it out loud.
You can look if you want. I won't look. I'll look away.
Professional magician Michael O'Brien performs at McAllen's every week. He wishes Trump would disappear.
I've been a little lukewarm with Harris, if I'm being honest with you, but just living through the 4 years of the Trump administration, that's definitely something that I'm happy is in the past and I would not like to see come back again.
So, interestingly, guys, at each of the restaurants we went to, customers really were evenly split between supporting Trump and Harris in her home state, making this congressional race between Steele and Tran that much more pivotal for control of the House of Representatives in Washington. And can I also just say, thank you for assigning me this. I am 8 months pregnant. This was the best possible assignment to get. I had no trouble. eating my way through all 3 meals. Nate.
I love that.
And from everybody here at CBS, I'm being told you're welcome. You know, dinner for 2 anytime you want it on us. Jolene, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well done with your 3 meals.
And we are on the road for our series 3 meals to talk with voters over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Those are the 3. Battleground North Carolina could be crucial in deciding the outcome of this election. And the latest CBS News polling shows the state is a toss-up. Nancy Cordes traveled there to see what's on voters' minds.
From booming urban centers to rolling farmland to the Atlantic coastline, North Carolina's landscapes are as diverse as its politics.
Our first stop this morning is at the Country Kitchen in rural Wilson County, North Carolina, which Clinton won big back in 2016, but it was a lot closer for Biden in 2020.
The first table we encountered was a group of friends who have been meeting here almost every day for a decade.
What's good for breakfast? What do you recommend?
Bacon, egg, and cheese grits. Do you eat grits?
I love grits.
Grit is what they all say Trump has.
We're better off when Trump was in than we are today.
Because prices were lower.
Everything was better.
You got the immigrants, you got the economy, you got the wars overseas. We don't really feel like right now that we have anybody at all looking after all this. We need somebody to take command.
Nearly everyone we spoke to at Country Kitchen wanted Trump back in the White House.
If we get Trump, we got hope. If we get Kamala, we don't have any hope. It's gone.
It's
gone. The country's gone.
Several cups of coffee later, we headed to the Carolina coast. We are off to Wrightsville Beach. Our destination, Oceanic at Crystal Pier in Wrightsville Beach, where we encountered mostly Harris supporters like Phyllis Cantrop.
What issues are on your mind?
Cost of living.
The 95-year-old is a retired nurse from Chapel Hill.
Oh, thank you.
And she convinced me to try the pier salad with grilled shrimp.
You probably remember very well when the Roe decision came down.
Yes, indeed.
We talked a lot about reproductive rights.
Would you say that's one of the most important issues to you and to your friends?
Yes, well, you can imagine that my friends are also of similar age, but we certainly are concerned about it for our grandchildren.
Carson Ellerby was enjoying lunch with his mom. The 28-year-old was injured when a car hit him a few years ago, and he thinks Harris is more focused on his needs.
Definitely the cost of living and the lack of comprehensive health care.
Many voters we spoke to brought up disaster relief, with towns out west in the Blue Ridge Mountains still reeling from Hurricane Helene.
I have no running water.
Lifelong Democrats Caroline and Steve Baxley headed here to escape the devastation at home in Asheville.
What else is important to you?
I don't like a lot of hate. I don't want that.
You're referring to Donald Trump?
Oh, yes, because he's a lying person.
With one meal to go, we set our sights on historic Winston-Salem, the state's 5th largest city.
Campaign season can feel like a carnival. And so what better place to talk politics here in North Carolina than at a county fair?
The Carolina Classic Fair has roots stretching back over 100 years.
Trump 2024.
Did you vote for him in 2016, 2020?
I did, and I will do it again. I think there's a backbone there.
Forsyth County is blue, surrounded by a sea of red.
If I had to pick one thing that I'd be voting on, it's 100% abortion.
It didn't take us long to find a Harris supporter.
Are you worried that abortion rights could get restricted here in North Carolina?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a gubernatorial race coming up, and the Republican incumbent sounds like a mini Trump.
After just a few missed baskets.
Oh, so close.
My stomach was grumbling.
Thank you.
And there was no shortage of options.
I keep hearing about this Moravian chicken pie.
The Freehold Moravian Church in Winston-Salem has been making versions of this chicken pie for as long as the U.S. has been a country.
Is this served at this fair only?
Ours is served at this fair only.
Volunteer Leanne Haynes was confident we'd like it. but she was less confident about who she's voting for.
You're an undecided voter.
I'm an undecided
The campaigns are fighting over you right
Well,
now.
you know what, though? I will vote.
She was the only undecided voter we met.
You're trying to figure out which candidate would save you more money.
Yes, save me more money, but I also have things, you know, of course, abortions are big.
Did you support Trump before Roe v. Wade was rolled back? How's the pie?
It's delicious.
Vanessa and Eddie Castillo are recently retired and plan to vote for Trump, though they've crossed party lines before.
Neither one of us, we're not really Republicans, but we're not Democrats. We go our own way.
Do you think the nation is ready for a female president?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
I think it is, but she's just not the one.
You're all decked out.
Yeah, I'm campaigning.
And finally, we met 80-year-old Margaret Graham, who told us it's well past time to put a woman in the White House.
I want to see a woman president, but more than that, I want to see a person that I feel that's interested in maintaining and progressing the freedoms of the United States of America. And she's the person that I feel would do that.
Margaret Graham told us that she has been a political junkie since she was 10 years old, Tony. She caught the bug watching Walter Cronkite.
Every single week before the election, we are on the road for our series 3 Meals, talking to voters over breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 squares. With Election Day now 2 weeks away, today we are heading to Arizona, the only battleground state on the southern border, to focus on the issue of immigration. The latest CBS News polling shows that former President Donald Trump has a slight edge over Vice President Kamala Harris in the state of Arizona, but it's all within the margin of error. Ed O'Keefe found that few voters are undecided when it comes to the hot-button issue of immigration.
The sun is rising on the southern border near Sasabay, Arizona, illuminating this glaring gap. Where this section of border wall, built during the Trump years, abruptly ends, he lost before it could be completed. Cartels, who often abuse and exploit migrants, then leave them here at the doorstep of America.
When we were driving up, they thought we were the Border Patrol.
We asked, why risk it with her son and daughter, who's just 3?
To give them a better life.
Sí.
¿Comiste algo?
Chocolate.
Oh, the hot chocolate. It's rico, no?
At this rugged camp along a remote part of the border, breakfast is free.
¿Quiere un burrito?
Burritos cooked on a camp stove.
¿Tiene hambre?
By Pastor Randy Mayer.
Bienvenidos.
The first meal in America for about 35 migrants from Mexico, Bangladesh, Cuba.
¿Cuánto?
6 meses.
Took you 6 months.
It was an even farther trip for this group from Cameroon.
Did you have a burrito or?
Yeah.
And when was the last time you would have eaten?
Like 2 months ago.
So this used to be a pretty active spot where people would cross.
Mayer, an ordained minister, makes this dusty 2-hour drive each week with the aid group he founded, the Green Valley Swahili Samaritans.
Jesus went to the margins. We're coming to the border because this is an incredible wound.
Within an hour, Border Patrol agents drive into view and begin processing the migrants.
Pásale la parte de atrás.
Mayer says most here will be deported within a day.
Are you going to vote?
Yeah, I'm going to vote. But I can guarantee you, whoever wins, I'm going to ride their ass.
Mayer says he's backing Vice President Harris.
Clearly, the rhetoric one of the candidates has is pretty ugly and cruel. But from my perspective, both parties are using the border and immigration as just a political wedge.
We left the border to take the temperature of other Arizona voters on immigration. A few hours north, Metro Phoenix rises out of the desert in Maricopa County, the largest swing county in the whole country. In Old Town Scottsdale, it's Taco Tuesday at Cienagaves. And we found more than just the Diablo shrimp, sizzling.
Immigration, of course, remains a hot button issue down here because you guys have the border.
Yeah.
You guys see it more than most.
Yeah.
I mean, what makes most sense to you?
They shouldn't have been allowed in the first place. But now that they are here, there has to be a pathway to citizenship. And I think that they need to figure that out. It's just been going on for too long.
Well, I think what some people forget is there was a bipartisan bill that was ready to be voted on, and Trump sort of killed it. So why not pass it, try it? You can always tweak it as you go down the road.
We headed back down the road to Tucson and found that hot topic also hit around on the pickleball courts. What is the most common pickleball injury?
Ego.
Ego gets bruised?
Yeah,
that's not good for a TV correspondent. Just saying. Here at Corbett's, in Arizona's second largest city. Is pickleball an escape from politics, maybe?
No.
No? Or from the news and just from the world and how crazy it is? Yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks. But Colleen Young's friend, Eric Lopez, is finding you can't escape everything. Hey, you got a new kid.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's crazy. I mean, like $50 for a pack of diapers is wild.
$50. Put your order in first.
Do you want it medium?
Rising costs are also fueling concerns for this young couple.
The main thing that I spend a lot of money on is fuel.
Yeah.
And my truck, I drive a lot, so we live 45 minutes apart. And the fuel costs have constantly just been going up and up and up.
So that's got him doubling down on
Trump.
Trump?
Yeah. What about him? So when he was in office, stuff was cheaper. Order was a little bit better.
At another table, we found Corey Stevens, a Republican who ran for county supervisor, but seemed to acknowledge some things her party's candidate says.
When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins.
Aren't for everyone.
Kamala says things that we don't like. Donald Trump says things that we don't like. But if you look at the platform and you look at the values and you vote your values, which side of the ticket are you on?
She brought that ticket to talk over at dinner, but insists what's really important is just that people vote.
You have to vote, and you have to get out the vote, and you have to have your voice heard.
Overall, we found exactly what our most recent CBS News poll shows, a near 50-50 split in the Grand Canyon state, with a slight edge for former President Donald Trump, who's hoping immigration may be the issue that gets undecided voters off the fence and propels them back here to the White House.
I love that piece, Ed. That was really great. How's the ego, by the way, on the pickleball?
Yeah. It was bruised, but it has recovered, and maybe one day we'll get back out there. We'll see.
All right.
Closer it gets to Election Day, the closer this race gets.
Yeah, no doubt about
It's going
it.
to be a very long night for all of us on Election night.
Yeah,
Thank you,
well
Ed.
done.
Every week before the election, our series 3 Meals hits the road. What are we doing? Talking to voters over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Today, we're taking you to Texas, a reliably red state with some blue dots that are growing bigger. This year, the Senate race in Texas is historically very close. Polls show incumbent Republican Senator, that's Ted Cruz, with about a 3-point lead over Democratic Congressman Colin Allred. Texas has had 2 Republican senators since 1993. Omar Villafranca traveled to the Lone Star State to see what's on voters' minds with Election Day just 1 week away.
Out in the Lone Star State, author John Steinbeck famously said, "Texas is a state of mind. It's proud, pioneering, and just plain big." Like the generous breakfast servings here at Honor Cafe in Conroe, just outside of Houston in Montgomery County, one of the more reliably red counties in the state. The restaurant is a community staple, serving and saluting veterans and their families, owned by retired Marine Chris Sadler.
What is the biggest issue for you, and who are you voting for?
Well, I'm a conservative. I've been a Republican since I was young, and I'll vote that way. I'm a businessman. I have a business in the United States of America. We've seen detriment to our monthly revenue here because families are hurting because of the economy. And, you know, that first notch in the belt is restaurants and movie theaters.
Have you noticed your food prices Are they going up? Are they fluctuating?
So when we opened this place 4 years ago, we used a 30-pound case of chicken breast. That case of chicken cost me $48. That case of chicken today cost me about $170 a case.
Higher menu prices haven't stopped loyal customers Diana Wakazi and her friends from dining in.
I am voting Republican, and the big issue is immigration. They come in, they get money, they get health care, they get cell phones, they get housing, they get food. Our crime has gone up. You know what? Come to this country, fine and dandy, but do it legally.
Sitting nearby was Vietnam Navy veteran James Hopper, a regular who's voting for Trump and likes his coffee like he likes his leaders, strong.
I think the big issue is to get our country back to the way it used to be, where there was trust between people, trust between our elected officials.
Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill used to go at it.
Oh, yeah.
But afterwards, they'd share a drink together.
That's right.
Do you think we'll ever go back to that, where the loyal opposition won't be mortal enemies?
I think if we don't, we're in a world of hurt. And I'd use a different word if we weren't on TV.
A sailor word?
It's a sailor word.
We are all wrapped up here in Conroe. We are now headed to College Station, Texas, a little bit more than an hour away, home of Texas A&M University, the Fighting Aggies. A lot of maroon there, and that counting is turning purple. So we stopped by the famous Dixie Chicken in College Station. The late night spot knows how to serve up a good time, bringing in college students like Braden Baylor and Joshua Hutchins, who just got back from preparing for the Aggie bonfire.
So this is your first election. Who are you going to vote for?
As of right now, I'm voting for Trump, and I'll be the first one to admit I am not a fan of Trump as a man.
I agree. I think Trump opens his mouth too much, but he stands for a lot of the values that I have.
Brady Arthur is an entomologist working in the ag business.
Who will you be voting for this election cycle?
I will be voting as a Republican.
We have a Senate race here that is getting a little bit of attention here.
Yes.
Are you paying attention to down ballot races?
Yes, and I most definitely am not a person who straight ticket votes. And so whether it be for a county judge to a county commissioner all the way up to the President of the United States, I like to vet the candidates that I will be voting for.
We are full here in College Station, and our next stop, Austin, and the home of the University of Texas at Austin.
Orange down, baby!
But first, a quick stop at Buc-ee's for a snack.
Made it out. Beaver nuggets, beef jerky, and a t-shirt.
2 hours later, we made it to Güero's Taco Bar in Austin, known for its Tex-Mex. After a few too many tacos, I sat down with server Trey Ramirez.
Is there an issue that motivates you to vote?
I don't want to be in a country of hate and division and retribution. I feel like the country has been so divided that another Trump term would ruin this country.
Do you think Texas could ever be a battleground state?
I think it's getting there. I think the issue of abortion is helping that.
It was the deciding factor for voter Natalie Nicholas.
I'll be voting for Kamala for sure.
What would it mean for you to have the first female president?
So to me, it just kind of feels like it's about time that you would have, somebody who represents half the country leading.
But some voters, like Delroy Perrin, are still on the fence, even with days to go.
Have you made up your mind who you're going to vote for?
No.
Not at all. Are you leaning one way or the other, or are you? What are your options here?
Not voting at all.
What's your biggest hope that happens for the country after this election?
I mean, I feel like whoever is elected, I think we all need to stand behind them. Whatever that outcome is, it needs to be a sense of unity.
Little perspective here. Donald Trump won Texas in 2016 by 9 points. In 2020, that was 6.5 points. So we're expecting that trend to continue, but we don't know what the margin is. But we do know the stakes will be higher because Texas went from 38 to 40 electoral votes, and we all know that electoral tally is important during election time. Back to y'all.
It's everything, yeah.
Boy, I always wince a little bit, Omar, when I see people say, well, I might not vote, especially when you're a young person.
Right.
It's such a privilege to be able to vote and have a say about what happens in the future.
Yeah, and even if
I hope he changes his mind.
And not voting is making a decision.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And those Senate races there are a big deal in Texas.
Yeah. And Omar, I got to ask, because I've heard about Buc-ee's. What was it like in there?
It is amazing, first of all. They have a beef jerky bar that will change your life. And every time I go up to New York, I bring Buc-ee's beaver nuggets, and everybody loves them. I'll do it again.
In our series, 3 Meals, we've been asking voters all around the country what they're concerned about. So this morning, we're going to take you to eastern Pennsylvania. Like all of this year's battleground states, nobody knows, and I mean nobody knows, if Kamala Harris or Donald Trump is going to win. Pennsylvania, as you know, has the most electoral votes of any battleground state, 19 there. My visit to the Keystone State began with dinner in the city of brotherly love. Now, you know, you can't come to Philadelphia without running up these rocky steps. Everybody knows that a victory in this race is going to go through Pennsylvania. So we are down to the nitty and gritty, and we came to see what the people here are thinking. You're a first-time voter. Yay! We found Phoenix Butler lined up for the last day of early voting. Have you decided who you're voting for? You still making up your mind as you stand in line?
Kamala Harris.
Because?
Because reproductive rights are a big thing for me. I want to be able to have a choice.
What qualities are important to you in a president?
I think leadership and being able to stand up for what they believe in and not being a convicted felon is pretty cool too.
Yo, fellas, y'all ready to do this?
Cheesesteaks in Philly are legendary, so we stopped at Max's for dinner to see what's at stake for voters here. I want something good.
Onion.
So we'll do the cheesesteak, and as Yusuf said, some onions. Some onions.
Boys to men, ABC, BBD. I'm an independent. I'm Naughty Black. This is my neighborhood. I've been around here for years.
What makes a good cheesesteak and what makes a good president?
Well, what makes a good president is honesty and loyalty to their commitment for the people. You know, we've been voting for years and years and years and years and years and years. When politicians get in there, we want them to live up to their commitment. To hear
Are you
about
leaning towards one candidate over the other? Not even that.
Well, let me tell you what I like that I heard. I like the fact that she was going to make it easy for first-time buyers. Everybody should have, a place in the city to go to and raise their children.
What do you see clearly as you sit here today?
So clearly what we see is we need a change. We need a change. And we need somebody that I think that is going to honestly and genuinely work to bring our country together. And we have to have somebody that's going to be able to lead us to that middle ground so that we can make, the decisions and the policies that's going to move us forward.
You think she's more qualified
I absolutely
than he
do.
to bring us together?
Absolutely.
Oh! Is that the best Shirley Temple you've ever made?
I hope so.
Peaches, who's behind the bar, has a perspective that's a concern for both campaigns. Can you talk to us about how you're feeling about the election?
I'm not voting for nobody.
You're not voting at all?
No.
Peaches,
I'm
that
not.
breaks my heart to hear that.
I'm being honest.
Tell me why.
Would they ever did for me? I'm not voting for nobody.
But how does anything change if you don't vote?
What's really going to change?
My name is John. I'll be your tour guide.
We are here in Lancaster County. This is what I like about the 3 Meal series. You get to see one state from many points of view. So we came here, this is a rural section of the state, which typically votes Republican. So we want to come and talk to the voters here. All I can say is you work up an appetite when you're riding in the buggy.
Oh boy, whoa.
Time for breakfast. And Lancaster County just happens to be home to Shady Maple Smorgasbord, America's biggest buffet. I'm on a mission. Could I have just a regular buttermilk pancake? Plain? Yeah, plain one. Yeah, I like it light and fluffy. We ran into Trump voter Scott Childs by the pancake line. What is the most important quality in a leader to you?
To get the job done. I think the hardest thing, a lot of people will bring up character and those type of things in politicians, integrity and all that type of stuff. For me, I'm just like, most of these people have their issues, like I have my issues and so forth. So what I'm concerned about is their policy. Are they going to get done what they say they're going to get done?
Tom McKinney is voting for Trump, too.
You can't tell me you're better off when you go to the grocery store than you were when Donald Trump was president.
Are you concerned about voter fraud?
Definitely. If Pennsylvania, if they can't do it legally, they're going to do it illegally.
You feel that, Tom?
I feel that. I feel that way, yes.
Do you really believe if Donald Trump doesn't win that there was some kind of voter fraud?
Definitely. No ifs, ands, or buts. And I think you're going to, I won't say a civil war, but I can tell you one thing, you're going to see a lot of rioting. There's going to be a lot of damage done.
If he doesn't win?
Because people like
That's
me...
That's scary, Tom, to think about.
It is scary.
Yeah,
but
finish.
There's people like me that worked 60 years, 65 years, that are fed up with the way the government's being operated. And they're not going to tolerate it.
Wow. I've been looking for people like you because you said you're undecided. How can this be?
I'm conflicted. I like the Republican policies. I just don't like the Republican people. I don't like the Democratic policies, but I do like the Democratic people. I won't be probably figuring this whole thing out until I go in and vote.
Now we're in Northampton County, which is considered a swing county in a swing state. Why? 2012, they went for Barack Obama. 2016, they went for Donald Trump. 2020, they went for Joe Biden. And now in 2024, what are they going to do?
I'm anxious about it. I'll be honest with you.
Personally, I think he's a racist, and that's just how it is.
Bethlehem has a large Puerto Rican population, including Millie Burke, who says she was frustrated by recent racist remarks by a comedian at a Trump rally. What do you think is going to happen in your community, in this district in 2024?
Harris.
Why?
There's a lot of Spanish people, and we're sick and tired of the racism, people fighting with each other, women's rights being taken away. It's not about politics anymore. It's about human rights and what we think is the right thing to do.
So we've had breakfast and now going in here for a little bit of lunch at Tavern at the Sun Inn. We found a group of early voters. Anything exciting happening in town on Tuesday? Is everybody here voting?
Yeah, I already voted.
Good. You already did?
We're already voted.
Okay, good. Jim Stockless has been a registered Democrat his entire life. But this election, he voted for Donald Trump.
Well, I never voted for a party. I always voted the person. Am I happy with Trump? Hell no. You know, the guy's the guy. You know, he's a billionaire, and he's not one of us. I think he's sometimes rude, and sometimes crude.
Does he embrace the values and the morals that you have?
Morals, I don't know,
but values or character or integrity, does he represent that to you?
I'm tired of everybody walking into our country illegally and getting everything for free.
When I look at past history and current policy, I'll be voting for Donald Trump.
I asked how January 6th and the violence at the Capitol that day factored into his decision. You can put all that aside. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by people's thinking,
Actually,
because I do want to understand.
I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. And it's with a big gulp. It really is. It was non-presidential. It was, I don't even know what was going through his mind. It was not a proud moment.
Yeah.
Okay, but yes, I have to sweep that under the rug for for policy issues that I agree with.
To me, January 6th is
the dividing thing of everything. You can't forgive or forget that.
Why can't it be forgiven, Mark?
Because, I mean, it is an attempt to overthrow the democratic process.
Mark Will Weber says recent campaign rhetoric is also driving his vote.
What they said about Puerto Rico there is also unforgivable to me. In this city, the Puerto Ricans are a cornerstone of this city, and they have been for decades. This were certainly since the 1950s.
They're a territory.
Yes.
They're not people.
Are you worried about the country?
I'm worried. I'm worried. Yeah, I'm worried.
Do you think we'll be okay?
I'm worried. I don't know if we're going to be okay. I checked my visa and I can stay in New Zealand for 18 months. So, but I honestly, it will be hard for me to embrace this country if Trump wins. It really will.
Yeah, a lot of passion in that room, too. You know, you had people on both sides, but in the end, Jim bought drinks for everybody in the room. I mean, so it shows that you can have a conversation. It got heated and a little testy at times, but I think people on both sides are on edge. But I really got people when I said, all right, who do you trust to babysit your children? And only one person said, I trust Donald Trump because he has a family and I like what he does with his family. When it boils down to that, one lady said, why did you ask me that, Gayle? Why did you ask me that? Because now I can't get that out of my mind. I think many people still believe that values and integrity and character matter. On the other side, people are so upset about immigration that for them, it's something that they can ignore along with January 6th.
I do think, though, that one gentleman that you spoke to at the buffet line where he said that there was going to be violence. When I look at the end of your story there, where people are sitting around having breakfast together, buying drinks for each other, oftentimes the rhetoric is online. You can shout at the television, but when you're sitting with your neighbor face to face, all those go away.
It's true. It's hard to hate up close. Scott Childs didn't say there should be violence. He did say, listen, I look for a guy who can do the job. And that stood up for a lot of people. I was very impressed talking to him.
Well done.